Welcome to Nonprofit Support Group, brought to you by Nonprofit Tech Shop and hosted by Mandy and Karen. Get ready to learn, share, grow, and hopefully laugh through the chaos.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Nonprofit Support Group, our new podcast to do exactly what it says, support nonprofits starting with a group of two, but we hope that you all join us. That's the goal overall. But I'm going to go ahead and kick off introducing ourselves. If you're you're probably new to the podcast. This is the inaugural episode. But if you're new to us, I know we're a pretty big deal and all, but maybe you haven't seen us before. So I'm Mandy Thompson. I am one of the co-founders over at Nonprofit Tech Shop, where we focus on solving marketing, software, tech-related needs for nonprofits. So I've had the pleasure to chat with folks from hundreds of different nonprofits. And of course, the conversations go beyond our tech troubles, but we'll kind of focus there, but also cover a variety of different things in the nonprofit world. So we'll tell you what the show's all about in just a minute, but I'm going to hand it over to Karen for an intro as well.
I think you're right, Mandy. I think everyone probably knows who we are by now from the tiny little niche circles we find ourselves in. But for anyone new, great to be here with you. As Mandy said, I'm Karen. I am the head of business development at Nonprofit Tech Shop. I've been working in this space for about 7 years across different kinds of nonprofit platforms. And I, like Mandy, have spoken to a lot of folks in this space as well. So I'm really excited to have this little corner of the internet and podcast land for us to chat about things like you said, Mandy, tech related, but not always.
I mean, I feel like you got to apologize ahead of time for anyone you might have cold called when you were at Neon or community brands. True. Like when I was at
GiveSmart, people might know my name. Like, oh my God, not this girl again. So yes, apologies for the 60 cold calls I used to make a day. I do that a lot less now. We do inbound marketing, like this.
Yeah, just like we promote, right? Get people to come to you. So
exactly.
But yeah, so like let's tell them about our segments. We think that they're rather clever and interesting, but we'll see what you think. So we're going to tell you kind of ahead of time what they are, and then we're going to actually do them. And we're going to do them every week, unless you guys tell us that you don't like one of them. And a lot of you tell us you don't like one of them. I feel like we thought it through pretty well, Karen, but why don't you tell them about sports and sips?
Yeah, no, these are things close to our heart. And, I'm excited to see if anyone has feedback, but sports and sips, this one's very close to our heart. Mandy and I are both very into professional sports. We both played sports, not professionally. Well, Mandy, way closer to being professional than me. Don't try to act like that's not true. But with our Sports and Sips segment, what we'll do is talk about some of the headlines from the sports world. And we will not exclusively talk about women's sports, but that is going to be the theme because everyone watches women's sports, right? And there's so many great stories coming out of women's sports. We'll talk about that. And then on the sip side, I feel like you can tee that up, Mandy, because it'll be a little bit of an integrated segment.
It will be right? Sports sips. We're being alliterative here, but everybody loves a good beverage, and
got my sips.
We love beverages. We are beverage people. This is not orange brown wine. It's coffee out of a wine glass because I'm in New York for New York Tech Week and for a WNBA game. So my hotel room, I travel with all of my coffee stuff. So, right, like I've got my bag of coffee here from Rogue Wave, one of my favorite roasters.
How did that bag of coffee make it to you, by the way?
Oh, yeah, you brought that to me. So, Karen, we were rendezvousing for a conference. And so, yeah, I bring my grinder, I bring my V60, I bring the coffee beans, and then I ask, I'm in an Airbnb. Usually they have a water kettle for me, but if I'm at a hotel, I ask them for one. If you ever want one, most hotels do have a few on hand. So if you travel with your tea or coffee, you too can brew V60 into a wine glass in your hotel room. But we love beverages. There will be alcoholic beverages. We might or might not tell you what time it is that we're recording so that you don't judge us about what time we may be consuming these beverages for your benefit, not for our own. So,
no, exactly.
So yeah, that'll be our first segment. And then we are going to go from there into today in the nonprofit world, where we're just going to talk about something going on, hopefully good for nonprofits, maybe not always good for nonprofits, but we're going to
Right.
highlight something interesting that might be news to you, something that, or maybe you've heard about it and have thoughts on it. So we'll always take feedback, bring it into the next show. But yes, that's the next segment. So after that, Karen, what do we got on the list?
The next segment, I mean, I love Today in the Nonprofit World, but this one has our names written all over it. Next, we'll do a Reddit readout section. I'm not sure if everyone or anyone who will end up listening to us is big on that platform, but there's tons of great conversations happening, and there are especially good conversations happening in this space. I'm in subreddits for nonprofit folks, nonprofit marketing, museum professionals, fundraising and development, all across the board. So we'll pick something out of there that is conversation worthy, that's got a lot of engagements, and talk about it from this perspective that we have here. And if anyone sees anything great on Reddit, please send it our way, and we'd love to discuss that in future episodes.
Absolutely. We all love some nonprofit Reddit here. Okay. Then from there, we're going to talk about an NPO hero. So who is a hero in the NPO world? It could be somebody supporting NPOs, maybe donating a lot. It could be an NPO that's doing great work. It could be politically related. We've got, a little bit of a political tie in our NPO hero today.
Yep.
But yeah, then we're going to give a little bit, about 5 minutes each segment, guys. All right. And then Karen, we'll head into.
Yeah. Then we'll go into some practical things. So problem of the day, that's gonna, again, go across different topics. It won't always be related to technology, just things that people experience in this space, in work and life in general, that often seeps into what we do. So we'll tackle that. And then we'll go into the segment where I know Mandy is going to be really giving us some good insights, which is going to be tech talk. And we've got a really good example that you're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. Something that we do hear a lot because, I mean, conversations, it's interesting. They're usually starting around technology, but almost always technology is, at least in our world, is to support relationships. Even if it's process or operations focused, it's still helping to support relationships. Maybe we want to get more data from operations. We work with a lot of museums, so maybe we want to get more membership, visitorship type of data so that we can better understand the relationships from a development standpoint, be able to nurture those, keep people involved with our cause, with our community, and then be able to also drive revenue for our mission and for our cause. And so because we see a lot of relationship focused stuff in tech, we will be giving lots of awesome tips on like how we can personalize, segment, automate, and make our communication with our constituents better. So with that, I think
Let's
that
do
it is
it.
time to jump into sports and sip. So I feel like we got to like very quickly cover the sip. So I have a uh Nicaragua coffee. It's a geisha
Mm.
varietal, which is the best out there. This particular one was grown in Nicaragua, and it was using a special process, uh, carbonic maceration. So this is all like how they process the coffee beans to make them more interesting and how they impart flavor. So drying it inside of the cherry a little bit before they actually remove the coffee bean from the cherry. Most coffees are washed, so they remove it right away before drying, create some fermentation, create some flavor transfer, and then this does carbonic maceration. And so it's going to remove some of the oxygen, more exposure to CO2, et cetera, et cetera. And it has a really nice flavor profile. And then I did brew this today on the V60 from my hotel room. So that is how did the grinding by hand. So maybe one of
Wow.
these days we'll actually I know our YouTube channel has plenty of videos of me making coffee and talking about,
That is where this all
uh,
started. That is the
yeah,
original digital reach slash nonprofit tech shop content, was Mandy's coffee advent calendar. That stuff still lives on YouTube. We need to unearth it.
we do. And then we turned that into a marketing advent calendar. So throughout that month of December, which was in 2020, I brewed a lot of coffee and talked marketing. So if you guys, I don't know how relevant all of it is anymore, but the videos live on. So, but
Oh
let's talk
man.
about some this week in sports. We're actually going to talk about men's sports a little bit because Saturday was a big day in men's sports. How we haven't even talked about this. How
No,
on
I
the
haven't.
edge of your seat were you for the Spurs game against OKC?
I was definitely it had game 7 energy. So I
Yes.
liked that a lot. That's what you hope for in a game 7 across any sports is make it make it competitive. Don't have it be a blowout. So it definitely had those game 7 vibes. It looked like Chet Holmgren knew it was a game 7 because he shrunk. He's like a 7'4" dude that played so bad he was looking like he was 5'4". So I feel bad for him. He's going to have a really long offseason, but I'm super pumped about the Spurs. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I feel similarly. I mean, we always love an upset, right? Underdogs, like if we knew who was going to win the game, why would we watch? And so
Right?
I think that so many people, especially after last year, would have had their money on OKC. Of course, the Spurs taking it to a game 7 to begin with was a big deal, but home court advantage, right? Like higher seeded team, better regular season. But at the end of the day, the Spurs just wanted it more. And I loved the tug of war of it, like that you started out with the Spurs just running ahead, but then when that happens in quarter 1, like you got to hold that, and it's hard to be
Yep.
chased for a whole game. And they wrestled it back, and then just at the right time, exactly like they started the game, the Spurs ran away with it at the end, and yeah, that was quite exciting. So I'm actually gonna, it's not here, not like I could have bought tickets anyways, because you need to mortgage your tickets to get into Madison Square Garden. I saw in
For real.
Nick's subreddit, because apparently I'm there now because I don't know, the algorithm knows I've been in New York for a week or something. But like Knicks fans are like, basically, it's still cheaper to travel to San
Yeah.
Antonio and watch a game than it
Yes.
is to try to get.
That was a big thing in the Philadelphia series when they were playing in Philly. The whole arena would be Knicks fans because it's cheaper. I mean, it's easy, obviously, to get to Philadelphia, but the tickets are insanely cheap compared to New York. So there goes the home court advantage. And I have a feeling you're onto something that might happen a little in San Antonio. So, but speaking of, like, you're in New York, are you feeling the energy? NBA Finals game 1 tonight?
I'm going to a HubSpot like AI agent builder session for New York Tech Week because I'm here for work, Karen. And
Oh,
then
right. Yes. Yes.
I might or might not be going to a sports bar with some people at the event to catch that Knicks game and get in on that New York energy. Because I know people love to hate Knicks fans, but I kind of love that they're here and that, like, maybe everyone didn't expect them to be. So go
It's good
Knicks
for the
and go
NBA. It's good
Spurs.
for the NBA. I think it's a
Yeah.
win-win no matter who wins it because I like both of those teams. It's a good time to be in New York. And on that note, you've got another New York basketball event that you'll be going to this week as well. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the lovely folks in the HubSpot community, right? Because we are HubSpot partners, we will confess that, but we promise this will not be a HubSpot focused show. So I can promise you that as well. I might give some like tips on, ideas from HubSpot on how you might do something that you could do in another platform maybe, but that's something that we focus on, know a lot about. But community, right? We run the HubSpot user group for nonprofits and also for the LGBTQIA plus community. Shout out for Pride Month.
Happy
What?
Pride Month.
We always celebrate that a lot as an organization. We are an LGBTQIA plus owned organization, so have our certification. So, and we just care about people because love is love. All right. So yeah, this Saturday, HubSpot community sent out an invite for community members to be able to come to the Liberty Fever game at Barclays Arena. So I am
So
really
jealous.
stoked. Have always wanted to go there. Going to try to get a photo with Ellie. We're not supposed to try to get photos with players. I'm like, I don't want the players. I want a photo with Ellie.
No,
So,
that's a great
um,
workaround there, Mandy. Well done.
yeah. So I'm going to see if I can make that happen and try not to talk tech too much and really just focus on the game and really hoping for a Liberty win. Sorry, Fever fans. They're not my favorite team, but they're up there in my top like 5 because there are so many likable teams.
Yes, I'm a big Liberty fan myself. I mean, playing against the Fever, though, that's going to be really intense. I hope Caitlin Clark is ready to come out and light it up. I don't know if they've had a game recently, but one of their most recent games that was broadcast is when she got in a fight kind of with her coach. And so that's been a lot of discourse online. So I actually feel Mark this down, Mandy. I think that Caitlin's going to have a breakout game in New York, and I think you're going to be there for it. I don't know that they'll win the game, but I think she's going to light it up.
Well, last year, if you remember, early on in the season, Caitlin's probably best performance she had all season because she was hurt so much was actually we watched this game was when they
Yeah,
played the Liberty. The Liberty had been undefeated, and after that loss to the Fever, their season kind of
yeah,
took a little
it
bit of
did.
a that they
Took
were
a little
riding that
nosedive.
high from the championship, going undefeated, and then reality set in. Got knocked out early in the playoffs by the Mercury, who made a surprising run to the finals.
They did.
And man, we love sports. Okay, we probably did way more than 5 minutes, but that's all right. We can move on to today in the nonprofit world. So interesting, right? When we a couple weeks ago we were at the American Alliance Museums conference, and so with that conference, I got to do a session, and one of the topics I talked about, so I was talking about AI policy and tech and how that's impacting the future of museums. But obviously, AI is a really hot topic. So today in nonprofit news, it's not directly nonprofit, but it will be, right? OpenAI Foundation, which we're all kind of not stoked with OpenAI right now because they want to give away our AI data that we're using to the government, which is a little bit scary these days. It's always scary, but it's
Not
extra scary
ideal.
now for some of us that might, I don't know, support DE and I and like, which not good in nonprofit news today. I'm going to actually go there is
Hit
all
me.
of the cowardly corporations pulling money out of Pride Month.
Oh,
Starbucks, I'm looking at you. I've never thought you were that good or had great coffee as a coffee connoisseur, but I could at an airport get a Starbucks because it tastes the same everywhere. But I don't know if I can anymore. Did you see their defunding of Pride activities as a result of pressure from the administration, which they are apparently turning up during Pride Month because we need to make life
wow.
harder for gay people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of change we're all looking for from our government officials. So that's fantastic. I didn't read that. That's really sad. It's also the least surprising news ever because ever since, what was it? Was it like 2020, 2021 when corporations were trying to be like, yes, we invest in DE&I, we invest in like Pride Month and inclusive things. We let our employees be off for Juneteenth. That should be a national holiday. All that stuff has been going away. There's very few companies doing
Yeah.
that, especially the ones at the very top. I will be off for Juneteenth because my bosses are fantastic and believe in these things. But that, I didn't see that. That's upsetting.
Sad. Yeah, June and
Yeah,
Juneteenth's on a Friday. 3-day weekend, girl. Let's
I
go.
know.
What are we
I
doing? Huh.
Probably
We'll
a
think about
hike or
that.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
something outside. It's my birthday that weekend too. So,
Oh yeah,
because
that's
that's
so
like,
true.
yeah, and when you're turning 44, everyone's paying attention. I definitely expect a cake and a birthday party. So mark it
Oh,
down. But
I know from Slack that there is something happening. So
oh
stay
goodness
tuned.
gracious, we'll have to see about that. But OpenAI, it's a little bit interesting. They have OpenAI Foundation had a press release today, and it's an investment of $250 million into grants, partnerships, and direct work aimed at building secure and abundant economic futures, which
What does
all
that mean?
sounds very word salady. And like some of their key points, understanding the shift, investing in independent measurement and forecasting infrastructure to create a clearer picture of AI's impact on the economy, supporting the transition, resourcing workers and communities through near term disruption, whatever that means. Like you guys are like
Ridiculous.
portending a future where people don't have jobs. You don't say. And then building economic security, supporting new approaches to organize post AI political economies, and sharing economic gains broadly for people around the world. I mean, that all sounds like I read that as, I don't know about you, Karen. I read that as like, we know there's going to be big problems and we are pretending like we care about the solutions, and that
Yep.
somehow, kind of like blockchain, like no offense to you Bitcoin lovers out there, but the whole thing was like, oh, democratizing money. So more people have it. So we take it away from all the people who have it now. And now what's happened is it's a lot of the same hands, but again, it's just a concentration of
Hmm.
wealth in another place to people who got there first. And when I read stuff like this, I am just like, why do I find it hard to believe that multi-billion-dollar corporations and tech founders are going to share their money and resources with everyday people around the world who currently aren't having access? While you are destroying our drinking water, using up all of our energy to power your data centers to do something that the majority of the uses, even if they're really cool and forward looking and forward thinking, are just going to cause harm to humanity. Like social media has done enough. Can we just like pump the brakes a little bit? But anyhow, apparently
I
they're going to
agree.
give people money. Let's see who these grants go to.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, in this podcast, we will talk about AI. We use AI. So, we lament it, I think, in a way that is no one's got rose colored glasses on about some of the impacts and potential impacts. And no one thinks that these founders are going to really care. As marketers, we know what performance marketing is. My take on this is what we call performative marketing. What's going to come from it? Don't actually know. Come to me with receipts of how you're actually impacting people, helping people find jobs if they're going to be getting rid of so many workers because of AI. I want to see the proof in the pudding. I think that's probably how most of us feel. But I mean, I guess you could say it's a step. It has to be a step in the right direction, even if it is a micro centimeter. You have to call it that, no?
Yeah, I mean, you do, right? There's nothing, like you said, um, you actually need stuff that, we need to see things happening, right? So I think that, you know, like you said, proof's in the pudding. We'll see what actually happens, but it all sounds a little bit weird. But we would love to hear what y'all think about AI in general, about these types of initiatives, how it's impacting the economy, how it's impacting your work. The things you like about it, the things you don't. We'll continue those conversations, but an interesting one. So, Karen, I think it's time for some Reddit readouts.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I think that it's going to resonate with people who listen to this who work in this space. So the actual Reddit post is quite long and very descriptive and good. So I summarized it a little bit, but it comes from a burnt out nonprofit development and communications director who's been in the sector for like 20 years or something like that. And they kind of explain that they built both communication and development skills because when they started working in the space, comms and development, those roles were combined. But now they're further along in their career. They're exhausted, they're underpaid, they're no longer attached to any sort of director title. And the thing that really stood out to me about this post is that, they love the mission oriented work. And I think that most people I've ever talked to in this space feel the same way, but they're just completely burnt out by the dysfunction that oftentimes chases nonprofits, constant feedback loops, rejection like grants, unclear leadership and support, also a lot of turnover. There's a lot of that because a lot of people are feeling burnt out and, just not being able to build the same kinds of relationships with donors and constituents that they used to be able to in the past. So they also, here's the part that might be interesting to talk about. This poster mentions like maybe they should look at going into like for-profit world, sales or marketing. But this poster said that it sounds terrible to them. And look, I get it. I'm around these things too. So is Mandy. So I get why that wouldn't sound as sexy or as fulfilling as working in the space they are now. So the main question from this is, and I'll pose it over to you, Mandy. If you were in this position, where would you go next? And if you've left a similar role, I'd love to hear this, from anyone listening, if they want to give us some feedback, like what kind of work even ends up fitting and making you feel as good inside.
Yeah, it's really hard, right? Because when you work with development, you're essentially in like a sales type of role.
Mhm.
And when you think about what's involved in sales, but then so like when we look at the tech world, right? People who work in development, I'm not trying to say, I'm not calling everybody like it's just sales, like similar to sales, right? You're having to identify, right? You
Yep.
use wealth insight platforms, who has the money to donate, and you want to reach those people. And then you want to appeal to them with what's the most interesting to them about your cause and why they might, or what in your mission that they like the most, that they might want to support. How do they want to donate and participate with you, right? And so you have to understand all these things, build the relationships, get the donations, maintain the relationships so that you have a recurring donation, whether it be monthly, yearly, quarterly, whatever it may be, and all of these different ways that people give in-kind donations, corporate donations. So you're having to manage all of these, as we call them on the tech for-profit side, like all of these channels, right? All of these different types of donors or buyers. But then you're also having to be the customer success representative, right? Because in the world, again, technology, professional services, et cetera, you sell the thing and then you hand it over to somebody else to deliver it and to keep the relationship going. Development teams have to do all of that and more, because then they're also usually having to put on events and that type of stuff. So really, oftentimes these people are, you people, like those of you who work in development, fundraising, etc. You're wearing all of these hats and you're doing it because you love the cause. It's near and dear to your heart for whatever reason. And you're probably not paid as much as you would be if you did work in the private sector. Maybe you are. That's not always the case, but often that is the case.
Hmm.
And then when it's like you're there, you love it, you're vibing. But then when you have people who are just crap to you on the mission side of it, right? Donors who don't think you're doing enough, who want to micromanage how your organization is spending money, who want to get on your case for things that you have no control over because you are not making those big decisions at the end of the day, probably on where all the money is going. People have this ridiculous idea. You see it all the time in nonprofits where, like, I want 100% of what I donate to go to the cause. It's like, who's going to do the work? If 100%, like,
Right.
you're going to have, like, I mean, I guess maybe AI agents will do the work in the future, but then do we all support that? And, like, people not having jobs, like, literally, like, people have to work to make nonprofits work. The work people do is really important. No, you don't want to, which is why oftentimes the pay isn't super high, right? Compared to private sector jobs. So, like, all right, got it. You don't want everyone making 300 grand a year. And for the money to just, for the nonprofit to exist, to just pay people a lot of money or to do awful things. But it does still have to operate, right? So I think that when you have all of that piled together, it's really hard. And I think that kind of like you see this in nursing, right? Like we know a lot of folks in nursing. Karen's mom is in nursing. Karen's sister's in nursing. Sometimes you got to like rotate out to do something else, right? Like maybe go and do a sales job or a CS job in the private sector for a while. Get paid more, wear one hat, right? And then take that break, gain some new skills. Maybe you figure out how to be even better than you already are at what you do. And then you go back to it. But
Yeah.
I do think it's really hard. Either that or buy some good wine or get a dog or a cat that you can talk to.
Yeah. I bet there's a
More
lot of dogs and
therapy
cats getting talked to. Yeah.
that know a lot about donations. Like maybe get your
Yeah.
dog to do your job for a while because you talk to your dog a lot about
Probably,
this
yeah,
problem.
has been in the role for a while now too. No, I completely agree with you. There's so many different aspects and points of pressure for someone working in this space doing mission driven work. And there's a lot of jobs in the for-profit space where you take your work home with you or you kind of feel like you're always connected. But I would imagine as someone in working for a cause they love or, doing work that they find very important, which so many of them are, there must be even so much more weight. Like, even if you're not taking work home with you, if you feel like you're not doing enough, your department isn't able to do enough, you're not raising enough, that, the impacts of that can, I would imagine, feel very, very heavy. And I can totally see how hard it would be to want to move into the for-profit space because, if we talk about a software job or something like that, it's like, man, how is this moving the needle on making people's world better? So I absolutely get that as well. There's some really good responses in this Reddit post. So I want to make sure that we can surface that somewhere,
Yeah,
Mandy,
let's
so
link it
people
up.
can
Well,
chime in. Well, absolutely.
yeah, let's link it up in the description.
Yeah, we'll link that up so people can go into the conversation. And again, if there's any other posts similar to this, completely different to this, that you think would be interesting to have some conversation around, send them in to us for some future episodes.
Yes. Now we're gonna jump right into. I know this one's gonna be a little longer because we had to tell you what this show is about, right? But one thing that we want to call out, and we'll make this part quicker, is as far as a nonprofit hero, we are going to call out somebody that we all are loving. Maybe not all of us, but a lot of us are loving in the political space. Okay. And we have opinions and thoughts. I think that's clear. Like, so you'll hear some of them. try not to make it too much about that. But obviously, we talked about DE&I and Juneteenth. And if you disagree with that, come at me, but you better not miss, because I don't got a lot of tolerance for that. This might not be your show if you don't support those types of initiatives. And that's okay.
That's right. There's
There are
other
a lot of
shows.
people who do. There are other shows. We might not be a match. All right. So, and we can live with that. So, but Mayor Mamdani, of course, in the news all the time because he is just breaking norms, right? Not going to the Met Gala. He's doing his own thing. But for nonprofits, we love it, right? Because he's investing a lot in nonprofits and understanding how important they are to the city of New York, right? So one thing that I took out of an article that was very interesting, right, is that the 13,000 nonprofits in New York generate 78 billion for the local economy. They employ nearly 1 in 5 residents, and predominantly women. 56% are people of color, and 34% are foreign born. Many earn 30% less than their government agency counterparts. So y'all are working at nonprofits. You know that nonprofit work services are such a backbone of, let's all be honest. We wish they were things that just like happened as part of our system, but they don't. So we need to actually have nonprofits to do it, and people have to power those nonprofits. And so he's funding them. Just an example, in early May, 12 million to expand peer-led substance use recovery services across New York City. So doing things that actually matter and doing them from a place of power that is calling out the importance of nonprofit work as part of our fabric of our society. So that's my nonprofit hero for this week,
Well,
Miriam Dani.
I think that that is a fantastic hero for the week. I've been loving seeing what he's doing as well. He really makes you think, like, what are other politicians even doing in office when
Right?
he can come in and make impacts this quickly? And you can't say, oh, but it's a small city. Oh, no one lives there. Oh, they don't have big. No, this is the biggest city. This is, a lot of people say the best city in the world. I'm sure there's lots of people who will argue that, but many will say. So I think he's a great person for us to be spotlighting. And you want to know what I love? I'm not going to take us back to our sports and sips, but I love too the community that he's building as well, and building things for young people. Like during the World Cup, they're going to be shutting down different streets throughout the city and have like little football games, soccer, going on in the streets for little kids, like actually growing the game. And I just think that kind of thing is really impactful. And I can't wait for 10 years from now when someone is on a World Cup team and they say, yeah, I actually started playing soccer during the 2026 World Cup when I was out in New York City. I think we'll get a story like that. I'm calling it.
I I think so. And I mean, even his fun tweets about the Knicks, like something like calling out like New York sanitation, like get ready for a sweep or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like Knicks
Yeah.
fans seemed a little uncomfortable that he was jinxing something, but I guess it depends on
Give
whether
him a
you believe
break.
in that or not. But no, it is community building, and we love that. So let's go ahead and we're going to move into our problem of the day. We're going to touch on that really quick, and then we are going to give you a little bit of tech talk as promised.
Yeah, let's do the problem of the day, like you said, fairly quickly. It's something that I think a lot of us go through across different sectors. Have you ever been to a conference or some sort of big event like that? You get there and you're super energized. You meet a lot of peers who are doing really great work. You go to a lot of sessions and you learn tons of great things. You have a lot of ideas and you can't wait to bring them back to work. But then you come back and reality kind of hits. You can't implement everything at once. You still have the same problems that you left when you went to the conference. So how do you fight that stagnation after going from the highest of highs and feeling creative and excited and wanting to try new things to coming back to reality, for lack of a better term? What's the middle ground? Like, how do you handle that, Mandy? Because we just came back from AAM, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it is really hard, guys, because it's like, and this is like first of all, I think we were at the conference, you have to balance it out, right? Like when I used to go to conferences, I'd try to go to every single session that I could. And that's just really hard because you end up with so many ideas and so many things you want to do, and you can't do them all. And then, And then you're like me, and then you feel guilty because you're not doing all these things. And you also drive crazy all the people who didn't go to the conference who are like, why are you trying to do 9,000 new things? We already have so many things we're trying to do. And so I think it's like, get really, really clear on the sessions, like something I'm doing now. How can I attend sessions that relate to something I'm either doing now, we're evaluating doing, and setting out like, what exactly do I want to get from this? So it's not just like a deluge of new ideas and things that feel like you need to have them done yesterday because you're in a room with a whole bunch of other conference attendees and you just assume because this is what we do as humans that everyone else there has it together too. And everyone's executing perfectly on everything that's being talked about in that room, including the speaker themselves, who might not be either.
Yeah.
But like, that's just a feeling we get, right? And then it's like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. I'm so behind. And then, we're all excited and we're on that high. We're not at our desk. We're talking to all these people who have so much in common with us. And then you get back, that high's over. And now you've just got a bunch of things that you don't think you're doing good enough. So that's,
Yeah.
prioritize the sessions, what your expectations, like set them realistically before you go to try to get yourself like you're still going to have to come down, right? I mean, conferences are fun. That's why
Yep.
are they the best investment or the most productive way to do things? Probably not, but they're fun and we
I
need to
think
be
they're
able to have fun.
necessary.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to be able to have fun. They definitely serve their purpose. And after the pandemic, conferences are going to be around. There is just no doubt about it. That human touch is really powerful. I think those are great recommendations, especially the just being really intentional with the sessions you go to. I think another thing that could be helpful, and we try to do this as well. One, have a session post event where you're sharing your learnings with your team, your department, the whole organization, whatever it is, so you can share the stuff that you learned. I think that's a very important part to help bring some excitement to the rest of the people. So it's not like you said, Mandy, like the people come back from the event and everyone's like, oh God, we're going to get all these new ideas from the people in Philly or wherever it was. So I think
Yep.
that would be one good thing. And then potentially maybe setting a goal, like, as you said, be very intentional. What process or thing are we trying to optimize or, make easier, and have 1, 2, 3, however many initiatives and changes actually come from it. And then hold yourself accountable to that. Have check-ins on it. I think oftentimes we skip that step too, just as humans, right? We have all these ideas, but we don't have check-ins, have like deliverables and timelines and goals. So that could be very helpful too, to, help bring some of that really good ideating to reality. But I have finally come back down from the highs of AAM. What about you?
It was,
But you're at another
it
event.
was, but this one is less, right? This is like that's part of, New York Tech Week, right? It's decentralized. So it is not nearly as, not nearly as focused as AAM was. So thankfully for me, I'm a little bit more fielded, although I am going to an event about building agents tonight. So we'll see
Oh,
if I still feel that way after I go to tonight's
so
event.
I'll wait for the Slack messages about all the agents you want us to build. Not me. Not that I would ever do that,
Exactly. Oh,
but
you're going to stop it. You're going to build some agents. Watch out, Karen. That's going to be the
oh
task
man,
that you get tomorrow. So watch out.
set me up for success.
Yes. So we are, let's see. Well, time is going to be whatever it is. Hopefully you're still here. You
We're
can
at
always pick it back up
our last
later,
segment,
right?
though. We're at our
Yeah.
last segment. So, but this is
So
a great one. This is a great one, Mandy. I'll just tee it up for you though, because this is some of the content that you really started with. Again, this is not a HubSpot podcast, but when we became HubSpot partners, it was because of things like this that you're able to do with it. And you just have a lot of experience with how do you personalize your communications? How do you serve different experiences to different people based on how they interact with your organization? Because that's very important. You don't want to talk to everyone the same. So you're going to give us a little bit, some tech talk around personalization with calculated properties and smart content, but a lot of people might not know what that means.
yes, and we're going to find this video. And so by the time this is posted, we'll have found it, guys. And we are going to have this ready for you to watch because it's on our YouTube channel. I was just looking for it real quick. So, but we'll find that. So here's the deal. And you'll get to, again, watch a video on how to do this. But personalization, this is a buzzword that everyone gets very excited about. It's like, oh, let's personalize content. People are like, yes. How do I do that? Right? It's like, okay, right. You have to start with, and this is something that, and part of doing this podcast is getting back into that because I enjoyed it a lot and got busy and doing other things for the business. And now, I'm finding myself back to loving that teaching part of it and the very practical how to that you can execute on. And so when we hear about personalization at scale, segmentation at scale, that for a lot of people might be overwhelming because there's a lot of what we call marketing operations. How do you operationalize that, right? Who's going to go in this list? What are they going to see? What's going to be the trigger in the background that controls what that person sees, right? And like, there's all of this operational setup that has to be done. And it's like, who has time for that? For all the different iterations of the content. It might sound fun to be like, oh yeah, we're going to segment our donors into 7 different lists and have a different version of the landing page for each group. And that's like a wonderful plan, but that's a lot of work. And so what I love about this simple concept is that it still takes some planning, but the execution is a lot lighter of a lift than doing a whole bunch of iterations. So what this involves is it's called smart content in HubSpot, and dynamic content, whatever you want to call it, it exists in a lot of systems, right? So using tokens, right? So we've all used tokens in making email campaigns and landing pages. A
Hi,
token would
first
be,
name.
yeah, it's like, hi, Mandy, thank you for your donation. My first name being plugged in is a token, right? Karen's name being plugged in is a token. The, 5 different initiatives that you have people donate for, plugging the initiative I donated to is a token, right? So what's really cool about most systems, but I'm going to talk about HubSpot here, and then you can take that and do the same thing wherever you work, is that we have these tokens and their properties, right? But the properties can be calculated. So an example that you're going to see in this video is like, okay, what you can have is a property that adds up all the donations I've done this year or in the last 12 months. And you can set up the property itself and automations in the background to keep that accurate, right? So then what we can do is this. We can have a simple, just changing the text on pages to say, hey, Mandy, right? And here's what we calculate. So this is what's fun is let's use this example that we have decided that because I have donated over $500, but less than 1,000, and it's the end of the year, let's say, right? Like it's Giving Tuesday. How can we ask Mandy to donate to get to the next level? Let's say that's $1,000, right? So what we can do is say, hey, Mandy, when I get to the landing page, I'm like, oh my gosh, this landing page is for me. It has my name on it. And it says, you've donated $675 this year. And I'm like, I have? Go me. Yeah, awesome. And right. And that I'm gonna tell you how easy it is to do this, right? Because that was a calculated property. And we had to go make that. All we had to do was say, hey, landing page, say Mandy's name, and then put Mandy's 2026 year-to-date donation property in there. Okay, cool. Hey, Mandy, we're working on plug in Mandy's favorite initiative. Easy. Again, we made one page for this. Can you donate this amount? And let's say we want Mandy to get to $1,000, because this is where we have to pick a couple of groups. But again, we can even do that dynamically. We can say, hey, make the target amount 20% more than they've donated this year and make the amount you want them to donate 20%. It's that easy, right? So we set that up to say, hey, this property will be 20%, that property times 1.2. This one will be that property times 0.2, right? Hey, Mandy, can you get your donations to, 675 times 1.2 by donating 675 times 0.2, right? Then that scales. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's going to help us do X, Y, and Z for this initiative. Now it's like, oh my gosh, this is for me. Got my name. It knows how much I've donated. I have a very specific amount that's not just like 675, right? It's got like whatever 20% of that would be. I would do that on the fly, but I'm not going to. Okay. And then it's going to reach this amount. I'm like, oh, that actually adds up. That is what it would reach. And there you go. That's something personalized to me. And maybe that at the end of the year, you can get people to give about 20% more because you've done research. You've reported on what people have historically donated. Now, all of a sudden, using calculated properties and using a simple like token-based landing page, you don't even have to create a bunch of iterations, and it's personalized, right? Now, maybe what you do is say, hey, people who've donated this much or less, let's have them increase it by 10%. People who donate more, let's have them increase it by 25%, right? And then we can experiment with those things. Then we can get into smart content and say, okay, let's ask for the first 100 people we send it to, or the first 200 people, whatever your list is, let's ask, half of them to increase by 15%, half of them to increase by 20. And whichever campaign gets the most donations, let's keep running that version, right? So all of this can be set up. I could set that campaign up in an hour. And now I have a personalized campaign at scale. So those are the types of things that having a powerful marketing automation system allow you to do. There is a video that's connected that doesn't do the exact example, but gives a very similar example, how you would set that up, and just gives you an idea of how to build these types of things out. So that's our practical tip for today. Sometimes on the show, when we have a little bit more time, I'll jump in and actually demonstrate something in the show. But today you're getting a video that you can go and watch. You've got ideas. If you want to ask us about that, send us an email. We can connect you with somebody on the team to sit down. But hey, episode 1, nonprofit support
Man,
group, 45 minutes. We were
time
over,
flies.
and it might be longer, guys. We don't know. We're just starting out. Tell us, did we talk
Yeah,
too
we're new
much? Not
here.
enough?
So
Yeah. Yeah. Just getting going. So, but yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed the content. Karen, this was fun. I look forward to, we can just talk. This is
I
like us
I
in
had a
life.
great time. Mandy and I talk a lot, but every single time is just as enjoyable and also just as valuable. I'm always learning from Mandy, so hopefully we get some folks on here that can come do the same. I love that personalized content piece there. Quick thing before we leave, I just am curious of all the conversations you've had with nonprofits. What percentage of organizations do that kind of thing? We'll leave with
None.
that.
Like zero.
Really?
Like, well,
Okay.
ones that we work with do it, but like it's just, I think there's just such a lack of practical, applicable, and then also things that are realistic for, like we talked
Yeah,
about with the development person who's wearing like 7 different hats. Like, come on,
totally.
who's gonna actually have the time to set up all these beautiful, perfect marketing campaigns that have been tested and QA'd and have all the different, you know how it is. But I mean, I learned a ton from you as well. We both have had, I mean, I think you've had more conversations than me because you're on the sales side of things. So you're talking to
Okay, well,
people a
maybe.
lot.
I bet we're close, but yes, hopefully I am having a lot or else we're doing it's a problem. That's my whole
Yeah, or
job.
else
So
you're fired. That's
yeah, no,
that's
honestly, if I don't have
yeah.
meetings on my calendar, I am concerned.
Legit concern over here, people. Legit concern.
Yes.
But no, this was fun. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Do it again.
Let's do it again. Thanks, Mandy. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you guys soon.